pose the solution since the point of view of the judge. The judge and the courts rule the way of living and the way of solve troubles. We have troubles in Peru of many types, but if we speak of judiciary on the conflicts of human beings, we could find them that the conciliation center is very important. The conciliation center, as I told you, has its roots in the ancient Peru, in the Incas Empire. In the Incas Empire, at the point of view who idolized in those times, the Incas idolized the person which tried to solve and restore harmony in the community. Maybe we are trying to use again with a new law of conciliation since 1998, the system of conciliation. The conciliator tried to help the people in conflict and can choose. They can choose their own solution. In first level, the conciliator tells them, well, try to solve the conflict. Let's find what are your point of view. I'm only going to try to manage you a very good communication, try to help you to solve the problems by yourself. But sometimes it's difficult, and the conciliator must to try to give them a help to solve the trouble. But if we see the side of the judiciary, we see that the person of the judge decides without taking in account the will of the people. What the people says, he doesn't mind for the judiciary and the courts here in Peru. And we have many troubles of maybe corruption. I don't know if in your countries too, the judiciary means corruption and a very vertical way to try to see others. And if we go to the conciliation cases in the Peruvian law, you can see, for example, a model of debt money. If Juan borrowed $500, it's an example of one case of conciliation. Juan borrowed $500 from Maria. Maria wants, obviously, that Juan must pay her money after 6 months because the time to return the money was only 2 months, but it had passed 4 months additionally, and she says that I don't have money. He says that he doesn't have money. Then Maria goes to the conciliation center. The conciliation center helps them to solve the conflict, but they, in first level, must to try to decide by themselves, guided by the conciliator. But if they can't do it, the conciliator, as I said before, try to find a way, which is the middle term, the middle way, which is the Incas Empire, to try to find the middle point to solve the troubles, and both sides can get the solution and feel very happy. And for example, Juan says, please, I will pay you the debt in 1 year. And Maria says, the most time that I can give you are 8 months. The conciliator in that moment says, well, I propose you 10 months, not 1 year, 12 months, not 8 years, not 8 months, not 8 months. I propose you 10 months. What do you think about that? And the person says, well, you are selling something very interesting and we accept that solution. But it's very important to hear that the person say yes to the proposal of the conciliator, because the conciliator can impose, as in the judiciary happens, you must accept this. No, this is not the way in the system of conciliation. Yes. Case 2. we have here a payment, urgent, an eviction of real estate. No, yes. Mary and Pedro rent a house in Lima, Peru. Yes, Luis, the owner, charges $500 to the family because they don't pay the rent of the house during a long time. After 2 years, Pedro has lost his job, and only his wife Mary works, and they don't have enough money to pay the rent. And what does it happen? Have passed 5 months, and Luis don't receive money from his tenants. And he needed the money from his tenants because he's a retired man. He don't work anymore. Yes, and he needs that money. If they can't pay, he wants to evict the house, to leave from the house, not to rent home. Yes, and then we have that Luis, the owner, goes to the conciliation center and requests to the conciliator his intervention. Please help me. I want to solve this trouble using the conciliation. And the conciliator says, well, you must present all the necessary documents because the words are simple words. Please, your identity card, the rental agreement that you signed, you must present these documents. And then, after to review all the papers, all the documents, the conciliator sent a letter of invitation for the event, for the audience of conciliation. Yes, the conciliator in this audience facilitates the meeting, try to find a middle way, try to find a solution which can help both sides in this conflict. Yes, for example, the couple say that they want to pay the debt, but only could do possible in 6 months. Luis says that only can give them 3 months. 3 months is the longest term to give them time to pay. Finally, both sides, when the mediator gives his advice, he says, well, you say 6 months and you say 3 months. What do you think about my proposal? I propose you 4 months. What do you say? It's voluntary. It's your own will. If you don't want, you don't accept. But if you want, you accept. You tell me. It's freely tell me. You must accept. It's not my imposition. You must not to obey me. You only decide by yourself. And the people says, well, the proposal is good to the conciliator. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and finally get to the agreement, sign the agreement, final agreement. Yes, this is it's a way in which we see the procedure of conciliation in Peru. Yes, and here we wanted to show some similarities and differences between mediation and conciliation. In conciliation and mediation, we have some difference as the former people who spoke has shown us. Yes, as Sonal told us. Well, the will of the people is very important in both cases, but we must understand that in some countries the law is most important. The law is guiding the system of conciliation, and in other countries, it's very important. Most of the countries in Latin America have chosen mediation. Only Peru, Colombia, and Bolivia choosing conciliation. Yes, they are very similar in some cases, as I told you. Facilitate negotiation between the two parts. The use of techniques of communications is very important for both systems. Yes, it's all right. There is one facilitator in both cases. who directs the session horizontally. Yes, it's very necessary in mediation and conciliation to direct the mediation sessions horizontally. The main difference, as I told you before, is which the mediator can't propose a solution. The mediator can give a solution and propose a solution. He only tries to help the people to find a way to solve the conflict by themselves. But the conciliator can give a solution, a proposal of solution, but the parties can accept or not. They decide freely whether or not to accept. Yes, this is which I wanted to present before. Excuse me, because maybe my English is not well. I don't practice English almost 20 years ago, because when I was in Japan, I was most familiarized. It was very, very good for me, and could understand most fastest the English language. But now maybe I can't use this language as my native language. Excuse me if it's not good, my English language. I'm very sorry. Excuse me, especially when I try to understand others. But I suppose which